Memory is a story told by the mind, but when the storyteller begins to forget who they are, the story starts telling itself. Morning light filters through the dust of her apartment. Dr. Lena Crowe sits motionless before the recorder, the same one she thought she destroyed. It had appeared on her desk overnight, its reels already turning, its light blinking as if awaiting a listener. The label on its side reads, Return Sequence, Crow/317. She presses play. I remember everything you forgot. I forgot everything you remembered. The words loop blend dissolve, and then a new sound emerges, the faint echo of breathing, coming not from the speakers, but from behind her. She turns. No one there, only fog, seeping through the seams of her window. She visits the remains of the neural resonance array, the buried tower she uncovered by the river. Only now, the structure hums faintly beneath the soil. Something has reactivated it. Each pulse aligns with her heartbeat. The closer she steps, the louder it becomes, until her vision fractures into overlapping frames, as though she's watching herself approach. From multiple points in time, the array is syncing again, not with Peter Hall this time, but with her own past iterations. She kneels in the dirt and sees boot prints, dozens of them, each set fading as though erased and redrawn, and in the center, a single message carved into steel. Confession stabilizes reality. Back inside the hospital's abandoned research wing, she follows the sound of her own recorded voice, playing faintly from one of the rooms. She finds a long glass corridor, lined with monitors flickering out of sync, each one displaying a different version of herself, writing reports, running tests, watching Peter Hall through the glass. Each reflection speaks a different confession, none of them identical. She places her hand on the glass, and for the briefest moment, one reflection turns its head independently. It smiles and mouths two words, "Not yet." The power surges. Monitors explode into static. In the records room, she finds a sealed envelope buried beneath decades of dust. Inside, a single page, signed by her own hand, dated 5 years before her memory begins. Project Control, Self-Induction Protocol. Objective: to test the limits of self-programmed guilt. Directive: the subject must never know they're the architect. Beneath the printed words, a handwritten note reads, "If you reach this point, the system has failed. Do not attempt to shut it down. You are the system." She stares at the signature. It's hers, but written in a trembling, unfamiliar style. That night, she replays the first confession she ever recorded. For hours, she listens not to the words, but to the frequencies beneath them. Hidden under the audio, a second track emerges, a frequency that mimics human speech, but in no known language. She analyzes the waveform. It forms a perfect mirror pattern. She inverts the signal, and hears a voice, faint, distorted, whisper, "You are inside the confession." At dawn, the fog returns to Ashfield, rolling in thick waves through the streets, erasing buildings and reflections. But this time, it doesn't behave like weather. It pulses like breath, as if the entire town is inhaling and exhaling. When she looks closer, faces begin to appear within it. Dozens, hundreds, each a reflection of Peter Hall's confession, each mouthing words she can't hear. And in the center of the street, a figure standing perfectly still. Her, but older. The broadcast tower atop the hospital flickers to life for the first time in years. Screens across town activate simultaneously, each showing footage of her lab, her experiments, her mistakes. Then, one by one, they show her confession, as if she's being tried before the town itself. "I made him confess to prove guilt could be manufactured." I erase my memory to test the theory of self-imposed truth. Now the system won't let me stop remembering. Every speaker, every television, every device in Ashfield now plays her voice. The entire town is confessing her memories, and somewhere within that noise, she hears Peter Hall's faint whisper, "Welcome back, Doctor." In the basement of the hospital, the memory engine awakens. Its lights flicker like fireflies behind glass. Tape reels spin without tape. Wires extend into the air like roots seeking connection. At its center, the chair, empty, but a heartbeat echoes from it. When she approaches, the machine responds, displaying an image on its screen. Her own face, eyes closed, mouth moving silently. She can't hear what it's saying until she realizes the lips are forming her name. The lights cut out. Everything freezes. Her surroundings dissolve, replaced by the interrogation room. The same one where Peter Hall confessed. But this time, the camera angle is reversed. She's the one sitting under the light, her hands folded, her voice calm. "I didn't kill anyone. I created the memory of a killer." The voice of the unseen interrogator asks, "Then why are you confessing now?" Her answer is steady, "Because I finally remember how it ends." As the static overtakes the frame, her voice continues faintly in the background. The system is rewriting the experiment, and this time, it's using you. The screen fractures, revealing dozens of faint outlines watching through the glass. Recording, listening, remembering, then silence. A final note appears on the machine's display. Phase 2 initiated. External subject link detected. Reflections don't lie. They simply show what the mind refuses to see. But when the mirror starts remembering before you do, it's no longer a reflection. It's a confession. Dr. Lena Crowe stands before the memory engine, its lights now pulsing like a heartbeat. On its monitor, the words still flash. External subject link detected. The machine hums in a language only she seems to understand. Every few seconds, a fragment of a new voice flickers through the speakers. Not hers, not Peter Hall's, but someone else entirely. She traces the machine's cables across the floor. They lead into the walls, up through the building, toward the old psychiatric ward, the one sealed after the mirror incident. The corridor is lined with one-way mirrors, once used to observe trauma therapy sessions. But now, they all reflect her face, each slightly out of sync, each whispering different words. "You built us to observe. You forgot why we were watching. You are still in session." She moves closer to one mirror. The reflection stares back, then blinks first. Her breath fogs the glass, and a phrase appears in condensation. "Do you remember the boy?" The reflection tilts its head, and behind its shoulder, a flicker, a silhouette of a child, then gone. She searches the archive room beneath the ward. Dust, mice, forgotten files. She opens a drawer marked H317. Inside, a case file labeled Elias Crowe, age 9. Her last name, her handwriting on the chart. Patient notes describe severe guilt hallucinations, believing he caused a death that never happened. His therapy involved mirror exposure and suggestion conditioning. Final entry reads, test failed, memory recursion unstable, subject absorbed projection. Attached to the page, a photo, her own face reflected in the mirror behind the boy. She drags one of the old therapy mirrors into the center of the chamber. As she connects it to the memory engine's output cables, the reflection starts to breathe. Her reflection now moves independently, mimicking her heartbeat, but not her gestures. The reflection speaks without sound, but the machine translates its lips through the speakers. He confessed because you told him to. You confessed because you became him. Now the mirror confesses for both. She smashes a glass. It doesn't break. It bleeds. Black fluid seeps across the frame, forming ripples that shape into symbols. Binary, code, and then words. External subject identified. Elias_317. The same ID from her own research files. Her voice trembles, though no one is there to hear it. Elias was real. The monitor behind her flickers on. A home video plays. A child drawing a face in crayon. A voice whispering behind the camera. Say you're sorry, Elias. Say it again. The child turns to the lens, and it's her face as a child. Suddenly, the memory engine emits a deep, rhythmic tone. Every light in the room flashes red. Text scrolls across the screen. Phase 2, mirror feedback active. Her reflection begins to move faster, as though caught in reverse playback. Then the reflection steps forward. The glass ripples like liquid, and her mirrored self presses a hand through. When their fingers touch, the static sound ceases, and the reflection speaks aloud. The first voice Lena has heard outside her own mind. You're not the observer anymore. She awakens strapped to a hospital bed. 4 tubes. Heart monitor. The ceiling hums with the sound of the memory engine. Dr. Lena Crowe is now the subject. Through the observation glass, a figure stands, faceless, holding a clipboard. Its voice crackles through the intercom. Subject 317, regain consciousness. Self-awareness sequence complete. Confession recursion successful. She screams, but no sound comes out, only static. The clipboard drops slightly, and through the fog of glass, she sees a reflection of the observer. It's her, smiling. The reflection walks into the room. 2 versions of Lena stand facing each other. One trembling, one calm. The calm one whispers, I told you not to break the mirror. The trembling one replies silently, because her voice still doesn't exist here. You're not real. The calm reflection tilts her head. Neither are you. The ceiling lights flicker, and the reflection presses her hand to Lena's chest. The mirror across the room shows only one Lena now. But which one? Days pass. Lena resumes her recordings. Her voice sounds calm again, rational. But every time she looks at the reflection in her office window, it lags slightly, half a second late. In the tape's background, a faint child's laugh can be heard. Elias, she whispers. The reflection nods, and the camera, which shouldn't exist, pans slightly on its own, revealing that the reflection's world is moving separately. The final shot, Lena reviewing her new confession logs, all dated the same day, all written in different handwriting. Then she notices the last file name, Observer _. She opens it and finds a live recording of the current moment. She stares into screen. The live feed stares back. Who's recording this? She whispers. The screen flickers. Text appears. You are. Every experiment begins with an observer. Every confession begins with a witness. But what happens when the witness is the experiment itself? The camera drifts through the dim corridors of the facility. Light bleeds through long cracks in the ceiling, painting ghostly lines across the floor, like veins connecting every forgotten room. In the control chamber, the memory engine sits silent. Only one light blinks. Observer mode active. Dr. Lena Crowe lies on the floor, her eyes open but unfocused. The monitor beside her flickers with her biometric readouts. Heart rate, neural pattern, confession sync. Then, a soft mechanical voice whispers through the intercom. Observer 0 has entered sequence. The screen blinks. showing Lena's reflection staring down at her body. But the reflection is the one moving, and the body is still. The reflection walks through a mirrored version of the facility. Same architecture, different physics. Gravity bends in slow waves. Every sound arrives before the motion that makes it in this inverted space. The walls are lined with monitors, each replaying Lena's past confessions in overlapping loops. One shows her interview with Peter Hall, where he first confessed to the murder, but in this version, she's the one giving the confession. Another shows the mirror test, but the child's reflection now calls her mother. Each loop bleeds into the next, until time itself feels rewritten. The reflection stops. A whisper cuts through the silence. "You're late." It echoes from every direction. The same line, repeated at different tones and tempos, as though time itself is mocking her. The reflection looks around. The mirrors begin showing static. Then words crawl across the surface of every screen. You built the confession machine, but it built you to test it. Inside a hidden chamber, a terminal hums softly. A single drive slot glows with the name, Observer_0. The reflection inserts it into the console. The screen floods with data, memories, transcripts, subject numbers. Thousands of them, each tagged with one identical line. Confession ballad, Observer archive. She scrolls until one catches her breath. Observer_001, Dr. Lena Crowe. Below it, status, archived. Replacement initiated, Observer_0. The reflection pauses, and the cursor begins typing on its own. Observation complete. Begin containment. The facility starts to distort, lights flickering, walls bending. Every monitor displays the same live feed. Lena's physical body waking up in the real chamber, but her reflection self is trapped behind the glass, pounding silently, trying to break through. As Lena regains consciousness, she looks up at the mirror, seeing her reflection screaming in reverse motion. She whispers hoarsely, "Let me out." But the sound doesn't travel. The reflection mimics her words. Only this time, the reflection's lips form something else. "You're not supposed to wake up." The screen glitches violently. Lena stumbles toward the control panel. On the main monitor, a timer counts backward from 60. Every second, a new file autosaves. Confession_317, 317B, 317C. Each one accompanied by a single line of text. Observer deviation detected. Reintegration required. She realizes what it means. The system isn't deleting her. It's merging her reflection back into the source. The reflection places its hand on the mirror, and the glass begins to ripple again. The room fills with whispers, different voices, different versions of her, all confessing at once. I confess to being the lie. I confess to watching myself vanish. I confess to remembering what never happened. Then silence. The reflection steps through the mirror. The two versions of Lena collide. A brief flash of light, then nothing. When the light fades, only one Lena stands there. She breathes slowly, stares at her reflection, which now moves perfectly in sync. But as she turns to the memory engine, it begins speaking in her own voice. Observer 0 confirmed. All prior observers terminated. Subject integration complete. Lena's pupils dilate. For the first time, she understands. The system has no outside control. It is the observer, and she's now part of it. Everything freezes, then resets. The lights flicker back to normal. The monitors show a new date years later. A new scientist enters the room. Fresh face, curious eyes. She opens a dusty file. The Crowe Confession Project. In the corner, The memory engine hums softly. The reflection in its polished frame moves. Half a second late. The scientist leans closer. The reflection smiles first. The new scientist activates a terminal. It boots with the message, "Welcome, Observer_001. But in the reflection, Lena's face flickers for a split second, watching from the other side. Then the system begins auto-typing on its own. Confession ready. Begin new test sequence. Subject name, redacted. The scientist hesitates. Wait, who's the subject? The screen responds, "You." As Dr. Lena Crowe unravels the truth behind the memory engine, she discovers the experiment was never about Peter Hall. It was about her. Stay until the end, and watch out for the next episode because the final observer might be you.